Hey everyone, this is Ellie, and I'm your host for the next hour here at KGRA. Welcome to Human Ascension with Ellie. This is the show that examines in detail the many aspects of life that often feel disconnected from each other, but may, in the truest sense of reality, be important clues about what's going to happen next for us humans. We are transitioning from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. But what does that mean? 2,000 years has gone past and the sun has been rising in the constellation of Pisces. And so this has meant that distinctive characteristics of life have been in play, which relate to the Pisces, star sign. I'm oversimplifying this just a little, but let's just say that these distinctive characteristics of Pisces include things like religion and the establishment of societies that share a common belief system, sort of structure and organization. We can all think of examples of this quite easily, democracies, autocracies, Christian nations, Islamic or Judaic nations, and so on. Societies that identify themselves in a way that's encouraged for all to follow and to adhere to, and of course, rules associated with that, and for the government and its policies and its methods of operation to be designed around. So, lots of structure and lots of predictability. A certain belief system that ultimately defines that society and separates it from other societies, which immediately explains the whole concept behind war and division. It's kind of a period of us versus them. Now, astrologers believe that the age that's currently dawning is the age of Aquarius, a very different kind of age. What the age of Aquarius brings forth is a new system of life where women and men strive to live freely and equally in peace and with a sense of brotherhood. But of course, not without a bit of drama first. A little bit, probably a little bit more than a little bit of drama, to be honest, because we have to get rid of the old and bring in the new, and that's a bit of a battle. The age of Aquarius includes extremes, for example, conflicts, tension, but also amazing technological advancements. And somehow, the emergence of the new age brings with it the advancement of humanity and the ascension or the opportunity for ascension into a new phase of enlightenment and advanced consciousness. In today's episode, we're actually going to travel backwards to one of the men that we discussed in episode 1 of the show, a fellow by the name of Chris Bledsoe, who in 2007 saw lights in the sky that he believed were UFOs. He also encountered beings that he couldn't explain. Perhaps they were aliens, perhaps they were spirits, but one of those beings revisited Chris a few times since then. And in 2012, she gave him a prediction of the future. I'm referring to the entity that Chris talks about, that he calls the Lady in White, an angelic, impossibly beautiful woman who actually shimmered, and floated barefoot 6 feet above the ground. The manner in which Chris describes the Lady in White bears a striking resemblance to visions or otherworldly encounters that other people from around the world have had, which have been documented and recounted over hundreds of years prior to today, and might even have been happening thousands of years prior to that. In fact, some of the evidence of similar encounters may be explained by certain references in the Bible and, of course, other ancient writings. Some people consider this woman, like the woman in white and people like her or entities like her, to be an alien or a spirit guide or even an angel, maybe even the Virgin Mary. Whoever she is, she keeps returning. And every time she does, she arrives with a message for humanity. Now, if you haven't seen episode 1 of the show where I talk about Chris Bledsoe, you might want to do some catch up. You can always listen on audio. This will give you a great summary of his story and why I believe he's relevant to things happening in the world today, but also to things that happened in the past, perhaps even 2,000 years ago, at the dawn of the age of Pisces, which is the age that we're currently transitioning out of. Today, we're going to be looking at Chris's story from a unique angle. In 2018, Chris underwent a session of hypnotic regression, which was conducted by Barbara Lamb. I have been given access to the written transcript of Chris's regression session with Barbara, thanks to Chris's son Ryan Bledsoe, who made the transcript public in an episode of his podcast. I also want to thank a fellow by the name of Brad Cohn, who published a verbatim transcript of the podcast episode on his Substack. And so I'm using that transcript. During his regression, Chris describes 2 visitations that he had from the lady in white so far, during which she predicts that an event affecting the world will occur in around Easter of 2026. I'm also aware of other information from other sources that might actually coincide with the information in Chris Bledsoe's regression. Sources who may have never known that Chris even existed when they shared their information. And that's what this show is all about, finding the many things out that are out there that initially seem separate and identifying connections between them. Because it seems as though something is about to happen to us as humans. The world as we know it might be coming to an end. And, that sounds really scary, but it doesn't necessarily mean the end of the world. And I don't actually think it means the end of the world. I think it means as we know it, just a shift into something new, something different. And I think it's going to be, a little scary, but also really amazing. So let's take a look at what I've found. Get comfortable, get yourself a cocktail or a coffee or whatever it is, and settle in because it's a doozy. So briefly, let's qualify the person who's conducting this regression. Barbara Lamb is a world-renowned psychotherapist who has been licensed since 1976. Barbara is also an experiencer and a hypnotist and a regression therapist, specializing in extraterrestrial and other paranormal experience regressions. This is a very impressive expert regressionist that Chris is speaking with, and it should be noted that the regression session was actually commissioned by NASA, which demonstrates that the US government also takes Barbara Lamb very seriously. Before I begin reading through the regression transcript, I want to fill you in on a few small things. Firstly, I've seen interviews with Chris where he discusses a first encounter that he had with this lady in white. The way that it went was that she sort of suddenly appeared to him in the shape of a bull, like a male cow. So as a bull, and then she transformed herself into the lady. During this first visit, Chris was given an object that he described to be the body of what looked like a dog or a similar type of animal, but just the body. There was a beating heart, but there were no legs, no tail, and no head. He mentions this body in the regression that I'm about to read. And also, he seems quite emotionally overwhelmed. So he cries an awful lot during this regression. And the transcript shows that he cries and he cries and he cries. Whenever it says that he begins to cry, I'm probably going to just skip that. So take it on advisement that he cries a lot. And the reason for that is because he obviously is very emotional, but I have to be careful of my time restraints. And also, to avoid duplication and make it easier for you to understand the regression, I've taken out quite a few of Barbara Lamb's questions so that it seems as though Chris is almost entirely talking. The only time I've left Barbara's questions in is when it makes it easier for you to understand what I'm saying and to understand the flow of the regression. So I've done this manipulation of the transcript just to help us to fit the regression into the hour and also to make it easier to understand. So what I'm also going to do is I'm going to include a link to the actual regression transcript in the description for this episode if you want to read the word for word. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started on this transcript. I'm just going to read through the whole thing, the whole discussion that I've got here, and I'll try not to interrupt the flow so that you can get a really solid sense of how it went. But then after, I'll pick up and we can have a quick discussion about whatever has been mentioned in the regression that warrants a closer inspection of some kind. The regression takes place, for those who are interested, on June 5th, 2018 in San Diego, California. So let's begin. Barbara begins by saying, now you're getting ready to experience the whole of your experience when the lady came to you in 2012. In 2012, what is it that you're aware of, Chris? As you're sleeping there, is your wife sleeping in bed with you? And Chris says, no, I'm alone. And Barbara says, do you sense yourself being in bed alone? And Chris says, yes, I see a door. Oh Lord, I see a door. It's light and opening. It's in the ceiling. There's a hole, an opening, and I'm being drawn up. I'm being pulled up. I'm flat. I'm beginning to go from flat to vertical. And I see the attic in my house. I'm being pulled higher and higher to the light, towards the ceiling. I can see the rafters in the attic. I can see the attic. I can see all this stuff. Barbara says, is there any light in there? And Chris says, just the light that's pulling me. It pulls me higher and higher and higher and higher. I see the trees, and being drawn up higher into this beautiful light. I'm being carried away. I'm being carried away to the light, and I feel the light. I feel it. It's warm and it's loving. Barbara says, it really moves you, doesn't it? And Chris says, yes. The energy, it's a wonderful feeling, and I can feel this beautiful presence, this wonderful presence of love. It's pretty large. It's a door like the size of a door, a light like the size of a door. That's what it looks like, a doorway, and I feel it. I feel its wonderful, loving feeling. And I hear these voices telling me that I'll be fine. They're telling me not to be afraid, that they're here to guide me, to help me. I see these three figures. They're beautiful and they're glowing, and they're standing in the light. They're welcoming me to the light. I'm being pulled into the light. They're calling me. They're beautiful. They're glowing. They're very tall and glowing and loving. There are three of them. So Barbara says, does it seem like you've ever seen these beings before? And Chris says, yes, I've seen them. I know them. They're the guardians, the angels. They're the same ones that came when I was sick. When I was crying out, they came. They took me into the light, and they're back. It's the same beautiful, loving. They're angels. They're standing above me and calling me. Beautiful and loving. Their presence is so amazing, and I keep their presence within me. I feel that connection. I've never forgotten that. That's how I know they're here. So Barbara says, so they've welcomed you into the light, and you're there now with them? And Chris says, yes, I'm in a bubble. This bubble, a glowing bubble. They're there with me. And Barbara says, is there anyone else with you as well? And Chris says, I only feel these three beings, and they're telling me to come with them. I have to go with them. They have somewhere special to take me. They're very lovely and tall, very tall, much taller than I am, maybe 7 feet. And they're glowing. They're beautiful and radiant. They're pale in color, a bluish white. They're emitting light from their being. It's light. It's like they're made of light. I can barely see their faces, but they're glowing. So you have to be close to see the details, but I see their eyes are glowing. A beautiful blue, and I hear the singing, this wonderful singing. It's like a choir, a lovely choir, and it's singing and praising love. It's vibrating from my soul. They come for me, for the mother. She wants to see me. Mother sent them for me. They're telling me that the mother wants to see me. And then Barbara says, now, did your mother die from this physical life? And Chris says, no, the mother, the love. I hear many voices singing praises of love and joy, and they're talking to me. They're talking to her. We're in a bubble moving very fast. I can see through the bubble. I see the earth as it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And I look back, and they're there with me. I can see far away, far out of the stars and the heavens. Clearly, it's beautiful. It's all beautiful. And love. We're traveling far away to where I don't know, but I feel that I'm bathed in a huge ball of love, in a huge ball of light. It's just loving, wonderful vibration. And my whole body is vibrating. I feel it now, and we're beginning to approach this place. I don't know where. I don't know where we've gone. It seems like Egypt. It's like a desert. There are these canyons, high canyons. I can see walls that are vertical to my right and to my left. And as we gently float to the surface, I'm with them. And the sand is so warm and beautiful and dry. It looks like a desert with canyon walls on either side. I can see far away, far up and ahead. This I can see this light down the canyon. It's like beautiful lights. And Barbara says, "Does it seem as though it's nighttime or daytime?" And Chris says, "It's nighttime, and the light is illuminating our path, and we're being pulled to that light. And I'm walking ahead, and I can feel their presence around me, and I can hear them." Barbara says, "Are you actually walking with your feet on the ground?" And Chris says, "Yes. Yes, this is beautiful golden sand beneath my feet. It's warm and comfortable. And this light is way ahead, a long way ahead. The beings are around me and they're taking me up towards the light. And I feel the light around me. I feel the light ahead. It's drawing me, pulling me closer. And I can hear them. I hear them plainly. I hear them talking amongst each other. Just the three that are with me that brought me to this beautiful place. They're bringing me to this light in this canyon that is way ahead, and we're making our way towards this light. And I hear them speaking to one another, but I don't hear what they're saying. I just hear this beautiful language, a gorgeous, gorgeous and beautiful. It's permeating my being, but I don't understand it. It's a heavenly language, and we're headed towards this light. This light is illuminating the floor of the canyon and the walls as we get closer, and it makes a turn to my left. And the light I can see is coming from around that turn. It's so bright, it's illuminating. It's illuminating our paths. And we're not seeing the light yet because it's around the bend, and we're being drawn closer. They're taking me with them or walking with me, bringing me to this beautiful light, this beautiful bluish white light. It's just beautiful, warm and lovely. My feet, I can feel this beautiful golden warm sand. It's so comfy beneath my feet, and the light's drawing me in, and I'm so curious. I'm not afraid. I only feel this love, this beautiful feeling of love. These beings are still talking. I can hear them singing, this wonderful singing in a language I don't understand, but it's almost a choir. Yes, it's the way they talk. It sounds like it's a choir, like a choir singing, but I don't understand it. I can feel this new presence that I felt before. And we're beginning to go around this curve, and I can see this light. It's way up ahead, coming from the end of the canyon. As we turn this curve, it's a dead end, high up on the canyon walls where the lights are coming from. Beautiful, shimmering light. It sparkles. And the radiance that's causing me to tremble. And as I get closer, I can see this. It's her. It's her. It's her again. Barbara says, "And what do you see of her? What does she look like?" And Chris says, "It's the mother. It's the lady. She's calling me back. She's beautiful. I can't describe the beauty of this loving, most loving mother. She's high up on this niche, standing in front of a huge stone chair that's carved within the canyon walls. And she's standing in front of it, in front of this huge chair. It's much bigger than her. It's huge. It's very powerful. She's glowing, very beautiful." Barbara says, "What about her size?" And Chris says, "She's not very big." And Barbara says, "Is she human?" And Chris says, "Yes, she's human. She's floating. Her feet are not on the floor. She's hovering. She's above me. She's in the niche carved into the rock wall, and she's looking down at me. And I look back to see those beautiful glowing beings, and they bow down to her, and they're leaving me. They brought me to her." Barbara says, "And what do those beings look like? Do they look like the ones who are escorting you?" And Chris says, "They're the same ones, the guardians, the angels. They're seraphim. They're loving and glowing, beautiful beyond words. The words can't describe, and they're leaving me with her for now. They leave me with her. I can't describe the beauty, the joy, the vibration in my soul. And she's so beautiful and loving. It makes me want to tear up and cry. She is so loving." I will say that there's a point here where Chris cries, and he does. He cries for a long, extended period of time. And then he says, "Oh God, oh Lord, oh Lord, words can't describe." Oh my God, I can't describe the love and the sadness that she has for us all. She weeps with me. She's so beautiful. I just love her. She's beautiful, amazing. Her gown she's wearing is a sparkly, glowing, beautiful white flowing gown. It looks like all the stars in the sky in this beautiful silky gown, dressed from her neck to her feet. And I see tears. I see tears in her eyes. She's the most beautiful. It's like she's in love. She looks totally human. She's very young looking, 30s. She doesn't look very old, youthful and beautiful in this glowing, beautiful light. But she looks very sad. The most beautiful woman I've ever seen, and her love she radiates. My body's vibrating from the energy that she's emitting. This light is going through my body and causing me to tremble. I'm not afraid. It's her presence. Oh God, she's talking to me. She's telling me that she brought me back to put secrets in there. Secrets that I would not know until the time is ready. She's telling me things that I have to stay my course, that I can never waver. Her and her angels will never let me out of their sight ever, and that they're guiding me, and I have to trust what I know. I have to trust. And she's telling me that she'll place people within my path that were meant to be, that she's guiding them as well, and that we will come together at the right time, and that all will be revealed in my lifetime, or at least in my family's lifetime. I know what she means. She's told me before. I doubted these beings that healed me, that she sent them for me because of suffering and because of the plan that was created ahead of time, and that they'd always been with me from the beginning and before. And at that time that we were living in this time that was written about in the book of Revelations, in the Bible, and in the ancient texts, the age is about to come. It's the end of time. It's the age of Pisces. And the end of the age of Pisces and the beginning is the new age and a shift in the powers. Every new age will bring in peace and the love of the mother and the divine feminine. Now, at this point, he begins crying, but he's also trembling as well, which is the reason why I've added that bit. There are people, he continues on, there are people that don't want this out, that will push back, but I have to stay the course. Never, never waver from what I know. And she will guide me, and she will place the right people to help and to protect, because a new beginning is coming. It's so beautiful. Barbara says, so this is very important for you, Chris, to get this contact with her and get this reassurance. This is encouragement, Chris. And Chris says, very much, yes. I've been so afraid. I've had a lot of people try to convince me that what I've experienced is something different, and I've been threatened. And she told me back then that I would be, but to stay the course and not waver, never. Because the truth will come out. The truth will come. But much trouble will come ahead. There's a lot of darkness that doesn't want the truth. The divine feminine will bring about peace and love in this new world, in this new age that's coming. It's coming, and there's nothing to stop it. It's coming. This message that my experience is from love, it's not from fear, but love has its own and fear has its own, and that we should love one another because things are getting out of hand and the world is in chaos, and fear is setting in, and fear will overcome us all. And the darkness will win, but eventually the light will prevail. And if I don't spread this truth, if I don't say the course, if I don't stay the course, somebody else will have to, or it may be too late. They're helping me. They are. She's telling me to remember, to never forget what it is that I know. Never change. Never let anyone persuade me otherwise. I've had so much fear that's come upon my family. People that threatened us, my children, my wife. Yes, they don't want this out. They don't want it out, this group. They want the darkness. And the mother wants us all to love one another. Because if we don't, it might be too late. Too many lives might be lost that we can make a huge difference. We have to tell the truth. We have to stick to what our principles are with love. It's all about love and not fear. Fear is the enemy. Fear is awful. Chris then pauses for a very long time, and then he says, "It's so beautiful." Barbara then says, "Can you get a sense now for who this mother lady is?" And Chris says, "Yes. She's the mother of all. She's the comforter, the Holy Spirit. She's the third part of the Trinity. She's the mother. She loves us all. She loves everything, our earth, our seas, and every living creature. And she weeps at us, at our destruction. But we have free will. We have free will to choose between love and fear. She loves us all. She loves us. She's the most beautiful mother, the comforter. It's wonderful. She's always been there. She's been there from creation, from the beginning of all time, the universal creation of all that lives, the manifestation of the comforter, the one who truly loves us. She's here to help. She's here to guide us, to help us. And she brought me back to give me these things, these words that would unfold as the time comes. She's the guide. She's guiding us all. She loves us all. Everyone and everything natural. It's so beautiful. Barbara says, "Can you see or tell now why she has particularly chosen you to be doing this very important work?" And Chris says, "She didn't tell me why. She just told me that it was a plan from the beginning, before my beginning, and that they'd always been with me. She's always been there watching, guiding, protecting for this time. This time is now, and it centers around the new beginning, the new age. She's telling me that the people of this planet are making biblical scripture take place, and that they've given us the scripture through people, and that we are being guided. These people are in power making this happen, some in a good way and some not so good. And those who are not so good are trying to bring around the darkness, the dark force. And she's in fear of our suffering, of it being so great that she's coming to warn us. It's here, it's now more than ever, plotting and scheming to take away our love. And when we lose that, we are living in fear and it's over. It will not be good. It will not be good. And it's coming quickly. The earth is out of balance. The earth is out of balance. Our vibration is totally linked. Our vibration is totally linked to her and to this earth and into love or fear. And as we are in fear, our vibration drops to a lower level, which throws every living thing, every tree, every plant, every creature, including this earth. Its vibration is off and it's beginning to shake and tremble and self-destruct. We have to change that. We have to change this fear. We have to change it. We have to bring love into this earth, into this world, into our hearts and our minds to bring about peace. Never look at the fear. Never talk of negativity. Never bring it into our lives. Remove it completely from us to stop this negative vibration from going on. If we don't, it's going to be a major loss because the earth is encoded, she says. The earth is encoded. It's part of its makeup to rid itself of negativity and darkness. And that is a process that has started that only we can stop by love. And with love, we can awaken into a new love, into a new life, and a new world of peace, which was foretold. It's so beautiful. She's bringing us together for this time. She's bringing us together. This is the plan. This is part of her plan, and I have to stay the course. I can never waver and not look at the fear. Never give in to the fear, and never change for what it is that I know. To stay my course, and she will be there, her and her angels. When there are dark forces lurking about, physical and non-physical, that would be attacking me and my family, put the trust in her and the lights that appear, a higher vibration. And I can never change. I know, I feel it. I feel that euphoria that I feel when I'm in her presence. It's so beautiful, it just makes me cry. So sweet. This is not from sadness, it's from joy, her joy. But I'm afraid for the people, and from what they showed me, the images of what could come are not good. We can change it. We have to. We have to be in love. We can't be in fear. Never in fear. I'm helping. She's guiding the natural way. It's what they do. They guide us. They care for us. and every living thing they created. They tend to it and they nurture it. And these dark forces are so scary. And I've seen them, the physical and non-physical. Barbara says, so your connection with her, the mother, is it going to continue? You probably had more meetings with her, do you think? And Chris says, yes, she's always there when I feel that feeling. It's her. Everything's a part of her that we can all feel. And if we open our heart, we have to shed all pride and greed and find that joy and humble ourselves. And we'll find that. We can find that higher place. It's so magical. We can walk with them. We can be like them. They want us to awaken, and we have to now, before it's too late, before too many are lost. She's created this whole thing, and she's protecting everyone involved. She's with us all, and she's with you. She's brought us all together for this information that has to be given. And very many will accept it. A lot won't, but we have to try. We have to try and spread this love in our message. That these lights, that there is no other life, not just here, but everywhere, everything is a living being with a consciousness. The trees, even the grass that we walk on, has a consciousness that is pre-programmed to this world, to this earth, just as we are. We're all a part of her and her beautiful love for us. But she weeps with sadness at what may happen if we don't find that place. I keep seeing these images I was shown. I can never forget. And that's all not to scare me, but it's part of this message of love. So Barbara says, and while you're with her right now, can you find out what that object was that you were given to hold, that object that seemed to be living and then turned prickly? And Chris says, yes, it was symbolic. It was symbolic of our world, of the natural world. It was the keys, the symbol of the natural world, that we are all a part of nature and that everything is part of nature, the forces of nature. It was nothing more than a symbol. I knew it was living, but it had no legs, no head, no tail. It was living. And she's telling me that we are basically the same. We have no direction. We don't know which way we're going or coming. And just like us, it didn't know where to go, but it was alive. And that we're pretty much the same way. We're blinded in fear. It's what's blinding us, keeping us from awakening, and it's destroying the planet. This earth is alive and it's becoming out of balance because we're doing it. The humans are doing it through fear and negativity. We have to change that. War, but also the rumors of war, has people in fear, and the fear is growing, and the earth is becoming more and more out of balance, which is not good. I hate the fear. Oh Lord. Barbara says, and can you know from her about the other beings, who they really are and where they're really from? And Chris says, there are many beings, many kinds. There are those that have a very bad agenda for humanity. They prey on us, almost parasitic, and attach themselves through fear. And they come in all sorts of ways. They come from above, and there are those that live among us, and we hardly recognize. There are those in the sea. These beautiful beings live in the sea, and they protect us, but they're not bad, benevolent. They watch over us. But the sea is like the sky. It's like deep space. It doesn't matter. They just stay out of sight, but they watch over us, and they tend to every living thing that walks or crawls or swims. And there are others. There are others from other worlds, other dimensions. Spirits of our loved ones exist among us. We just have to find love. But I don't know who they are. I don't know. I've seen some. I felt the fear from some because they don't want this message. They don't want the love. They don't want her message out there. But the lights, these beautiful orange, the burning ones, they're the ones with the triangle, the good ones. The ones that helped create us universally and every living thing. We have to evolve. We have to awaken. They tend to us like we're in a terrarium, like a farm, and she loves us. They love us. But there are those that will come that don't. And that's why the guardians will keep those at bay. But we have free will, and that's our choice. There are other things that I can't remember that she told me would come in time, at the right time. but that's the course I have to stay. And if we don't spread the light, the darkness will overcome. She's the mother. I'm willing to go, to give what it takes to do what I have to do, and never buy into the fear. Barbara says, that's quite a challenge when you and your family are getting threatened. And Chris says, yes. And Barbara says, but if you keep remembering about this wonderful mother and the other beings who pledge to be with you always, will that help in dealing with the fear? And Chris says, yes. She's always there, and I know they are because they come when I cry out in fear for my family or for myself. They're always there. They're always near. They hear everything we say, everything, and they direct our lives if we allow them to. We would have to allow them to. If we don't, we're on our own. And that's what she asked of me. She didn't make me. She asked me, would I do this? This is my burden that I must bear. I'll never change. There's been so many to try and convince me from every angle, from my family to churches to friends, but I will never change. Dark forces will come and try to tell me that I'm wrong, that it's bad, that it's demonic, that it's evil, it's negative, and threaten me at times if I don't change, but I will never change because I cannot. I must tell the truth because I've made an agreement that I must stick to. It's the watchman. She gave me the scripture of the watchman. I can see beautiful images. I feel that she's inside of me, and she's always with you too. She's with all of us. She's with anyone that will allow her. All we have to do is seek. And Barbara says, and is there anything else that you need to see about this experience? And Chris says, no, ma'am. So briefly, I'm going to skip over a bit of the transcript because this is where Barbara begins bringing Chris back to his bedroom, and they talk about how the room is hot and he's lying in bed fully clothed and his wife is not in the room because the guardians who took him chose a time when they knew that she would not be in the room with him. But none of it relates to the messages. So I'm going to skip to the next bit, which is more of the messages. So Barbara says, and the one you've been thinking of as the lady, that is now the same one that you're thinking of as the mother? All the same wonderful, glorious being? And Chris says, yes. For all eternity, she cares for us and all of humanity and every living thing. But Earth comes first, and Earth has a code. The code is triggered by fear from humanity. It has in it an imprinted code and controlling population and all of humanity. It was built into the foundation of this world and the nature to keep itself in balance. And as humanity grows, the fear becomes more strong, which affects the residents of this planet. And there are plans from the dark force to overcome us all. That's what it wants to do, but we must overcome the fear and not give in to it, and to understand that what we are seeing is not all evil and that it's part of love and creation. The angels and the principalities, agents of their creator or creation, they work for creation. Barbara says, so have you found that the church or even the Catholic Church is open and responsive to this kind of teaching? And Chris says, I think that they will be. They will be. They want to be. They will want to be. And they'll accept it. A good many will accept the truth. It's been hidden away. This is in biblical terms. She said that the apocalypse is to reveal that which is hidden, to tell the truth, because we have a choice to live in fear and die by fear, or to live in love and find happiness and peace. We have that choice, and all of humanity at this point deserves the truth. It has to be told. It has to be told. That's been mandated to be told. We have free will, so we have to. Barbara says, so do you have the sense that there are many, many wonderful beings too, just willing to help and waiting to be called to? And Chris says, yes, many, many throughout this universe, throughout creation. They created us out of love and kindness, and the dark force tries to destroy that which is created in fear and in hate. And that has to go. And this is what has to be told to make this world understand that this new knowledge can bring about peace. Because too many people are dying and suffering over religions, thoughts, and teachings. This is why it has to be told. The truth has to come out, the revealing, the truth that we're not alone and we're not meaningless and we don't come from nothing. That is so much a lie and not true. We're very special, and that we were created in free will to find that, for our soul to journey onto a new place. We can't live in fear. We have to shed that away, and the dark forces know that. And they actually engineer it, and it breeds upon itself if you let it fester, and it becomes more negative. But we have to tell the truth. We have to change everything to find that new place, that new beginning. And it's time. It's now. It's now. I feel guidance now and an understanding of things better. But there's still so much unseen that's out there. This is about a disaster coming, that it was shown that it doesn't have to happen. And if we don't change, we're going down the wrong path. Humanity will never awaken. It will be stolen from us through fear and darkness. The truth will bring love and peace upon this world. And it will be through the mother and the love from the feminine, the mother energy that brings about the light and nourishment and love to this world. Because the man energy is so rough and warlike, but it has to be moved to the side, and the women will rise up. She told me this, the women will rise up, and they are. And we've only seen the start. They will become empowered and lose that fear that they carried forever. Barbara says, well, is there anything else you need to think about or see or know at this point right now? And Chris says, not at this point. I'm in a place of processing. I keep seeing images flashing, beautiful living colors flashing in and out of things that are coming. Processing, it's amazing. I'm so grateful. They healed me. They came at my lowest point. They came. They set me up on solid ground, and they came because I was crying out for help. There are many beings, many, but they work for her. She's the mother of all, the comforter. She's here to warn us because I wouldn't listen and I was so attacked. She had to come herself, knowing that when she came, I would not doubt any longer. So the remainder of the transcript is about Barbara bringing Chris back to the current space and time and then ending the regression session. So, wow. That was the regression of Chris Bledsoe, conducted by Barbara Lamb. Let's look at some of the most notable points from this session. So firstly, Chris sometimes refers to this woman as the mother, and sometimes he calls her the lady in white. This is the same entity, and she is the beautiful, shimmering woman who floated above the ground and gave him an explanation of humanity and Earth, how it works, and also she gave him predictions about the future. She said it was his burden to bear, and his role in life was to never waver from the truth, no matter what, and that humanity is being guarded by what he describes as the guardians. They will be coming to reveal themselves in the near future because humanity needs to be warned, because it's traveling down the road of fear and needs to change direction towards love in order to enter the new age. The lady gave Chris what seemed to be a body of a puppy or a similar animal, but the body had no head, no tail, and no legs. It was just a beating heart inside a body. And then the body began to turn prickly. Chris said what the lady explained, that the body was like the state of humanity. We're given a life force, but we seem paralyzed by our fear. And so our ability to think and move forward and everything that a head and legs and a tail would give us has been prevented or disempowered. So we're just a beating heart with no direction. And I guess the transformation into a prickly skin might represent our prickly nature, where we're always fighting or fearful of something, of each other, I guess. So the body represents the fact that humanity has been given a life force, but isn't using it very well. So we run the risk of very bad things unless we choose to change direction away from fear and towards love. Now, during the regression, Chris also says that all will be revealed soon and that the guardians of humanity will make themselves known. I've watched quite a few interviews where Chris talks about this event, and he seems to indicate that it will take place at around Easter in the year 2026, only 2 years from now. Now, I'm familiar with another series of predictions of this nature, and I think I've pinpointed a possible place, date, and time. So, next week, I'm going to be looking at this possible date, place, and time very closely. Perhaps we'll be able to identify something helpful to us. I'll bring together the other sources of information that have helped me to identify this space. Now, from the transcript, I don't think that the lady in white is necessarily the same entity that some other experiences have had, but she does appear to be similar to some. Chris describes her as being quite small in human terms, impossibly beautiful and quite a small person. I think I remember he estimated her height to be somewhere between 4 and 5 feet in one of his interviews. This is distinctly different to some other experiences who've described seeing a similarly beautiful shimmering female, but someone much taller than the average human, closer to 7 or 8 feet, sometimes even up to 10 feet tall. I did notice that Chris mentions that some of the beings who escorted him to see the lady were also shimmering and much taller. So perhaps there are beings who act as escorts, guides, or guardians who are most commonly seen. And they are much taller than the average person, and much larger overall. But the lady who Chris calls the mother and the divine feminine isn't as tall. He also said that there are many other kinds of beings, all kinds of many varieties. This is very similar to claims made by other experiences. For example, I recently did a video on the Ellie Dreams and Under channel on YouTube where I'm discussing a book that was written by a man who claims he was taken by a tall, impossibly beautiful alien on a 10-day enlightenment tour around the Galactica. His name was Michelle Demarquet. And she had a similar kind of appearance of being tall and shimmering, and ultimately she turned out to be a hermaphrodite, which disappointed Michelle quite tremendously. If you're interested in watching the video, it's called Extraterrestrial Warning for Earth, and you can find it in the UFO and Aliens playlist of my Ellie Dreams Done Under channel on YouTube. I might actually see if I can put a link to that video or the playlist in the description details for this episode. It's very, very different to Chris's experience in lots of ways, but it's quite an interesting story to use as a comparison. Many warnings and predictions for humanity are included in that video as well. What I find very interesting in the regression is obviously the possibility of an actual date in which we will soon learn so many secrets about ourselves and perhaps even meet non-earthly entities. Just thinking about it gives me a mixed sense of, terror, of course, excitement, happiness, anticipation, and trepidation, plus every other emotion that you can think of in between. But equally interesting is the concept of good versus evil or darkness, and the lady's message that humanity is being pushed and pulled in by two different forces. The good force, which appears to be of the Holy Trinity, in which she is the divine feminine and wants us to ascend and continue to improve and experience love, to become in tune with the earth and to bridge the divide between us and ultimately live in peace and brotherhood, which I think is the intention of this shift into the age of Aquarius. However, the other force is the force of evil or darkness. I think Chris calls it the dark forces. And interestingly, he doesn't really describe it as demonic or coming from below. He talks about it in terms of how it is intended to divide and conquer us. And it sounds like it's not just a dark force if you're opposed to it. It sounds like it's all around us. So think, for example, about something like politics, US politics in particular, but even internationally, like what's going on in Gaza, for example, or even Ukraine. Both left and right has its very loud voices. People who seem perfectly respectable to us, ordinary folk, they're our voices of reason who speak the truth to power and highlight the wrongfulness of the other side. It sounds like that kind of person, regardless of what their political persuasion is, might very well be representing a dark force because they are influencers and their influence is continuing to keep us divided. What I'm not clear on yet is whether these people realize that they are representing a dark force. Is it intentional Or are they just useful idiots to a dark force because greed or ambition or anger or attention seeking has made them fall into the trap of working for a sinister intent of some kind? This is something that I'm going to be thinking about when I watch my favorite TV host, political podcaster, or influencer of any kind of persuasion. I'm going to be looking to see if they're using language that talks about us versus them, and if they're consistently pointing the finger negatively towards something that they seem to be wanting to divide away from us. Because it does sound as though Chris, might be onto something with the way that he's translated his experience in that regard. And then, of course, there is the fact that Chris confirms that the lady is with all of us. All we need to do is ask for her and she will be there, and that the guardians are all around us and we are never alone. Oh, and yes, the lady also said that certain people would be put in the position of helping Chris to share his message with the world. Well, I found that particularly interesting because I've been placed into this strange spot of speaking to the public about topics that I was told maybe 40 years ago that I would never anticipate. But me here now with you, now this was predicted by a psychic when I was around 20 years old. That's nearly 40 years ago. She said that this would happen. And here I am. I wonder if I'm one of those people, because I have to admit the Chris Bledsoe story is one of the things that ultimately led to this radio show. I began getting weird little clues as I was doing tarot readings on the Ellie Dreams Down Under channel. I commented about it to viewers and questioned why my readings kept taking me to a similar central theme. And then the Chris Bledsoe story exploded, and suddenly the similarities between his messages and the messages I was getting from the tarot cards seemed to connect and lock into each other. And then I had a dream. Just a few weeks ago, I talked about it on the Ellie channel. I got a message from a woman whose voice sounded like multiple voices, all speaking in layered synchronicity. And the message was, and I quote, "If you're worried about the future, then be part of the future. We will always be there for you." That's it. That was the dream. And then I woke up. But I've been wondering ever since, am I one of the many people in the world who have a role in spreading the message? Because if that is the case, it would be an honor to do so. I do believe something is coming, and I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to continue to speak about this and see if we can find more information or help to prepare ourselves so that when it does happen, we're in the best state of mind that we can be in to receive whatever it is that it might be. And I want to be on team good. I don't want to be on team dark forces or team evil. If I have a choice, that is, I want to be on team good. I want us to ascend. So if you'd like to delve a little deeper into the spiritual side of what I do, then check out my YouTube channel. It's called Ellie Dreams Down Under. There's a discussion, lots of discussion, tarot, astrology, and I look at all kinds of people, circumstances, and topics. A new video airs every day. Sometimes there's two, and I do hope to see you there. So thank you to everyone who's joined me today on one of KGRA's broadcasting platforms, including Facebook, X, Rumble, and pretty much every podcast forum. But the best place to hang out with like-minded watchers, experiencers, spiritualists, and weirdos of the very best kind, like me, is at KGRA. Just click on live.kgradb.com and use promo code Ellie for 30% off your subscription. So that's it for today. It's been a pleasure. Until next time.